And guys, we got a short Thursday card. Couple of NBA games, Thursday night football. Great Thursday night matchup. A lot better than Bears-Panthers last week. We're about to dive into that. A little bit of a rough Wednesday for us. Got slapped in the face. Couple of blowout losses. A lot better than bad beats. So we'll take the blowout losses, I guess, in that way. But not a good day. So after heading into yesterday, 7 of the prior 8 days in the green. A little bit of a losing day, but we got a lot of action coming up this weekend. A lot of bets already out for NFL Sunday. If you guys want those, howtobeatthebookie.com or download the How to Beat the Bookie app. And if you guys really could, like, comment, subscribe below, help us grow this thing. John, a tough night last night in the NBA. Injuries did not matter. Everyone got it done anyways.
Yeah. We found one game. Let's first go over all of the injury games. And we're talking about big name injuries. Always, somebody's nicked up or banged up. But I'm talking about major stars in the NBA. Kyrie Irving. These were all late breaking injuries, by the way. What I mean by that, these were not known before the lines were set. So Kyrie Irving, a late breaking injury, no problem. Dallas wins. RJ Barrett was questionable. While Trae Young was questionable for Atlanta. RJ Barrett for the Knicks. Trae Young in, RJ Barrett out, Knicks win. There's a pattern coming here, guys. The game we went on, Brown and Porzingis out. 2, we've talked about it at nauseum, how thin the Celtics bench is. Celtics 29th in bench scoring. The only team that scores less than them, the team they played, Philadelphia 76ers. But Brown and Porzingis questionable. They get sick after Brown was ill. Porzingis was his knee. Embiid was questionable. He plays. So Embiid plays. Celtics guys don't. Of course, the Celtics win it. Giannis pops up. He's not going to play for the Bucks. Bucks destroy Toronto. So we thought we'd have the big 3 when we talked to you guys yesterday. We only had a big 2. And look at Booker, huh? I think Booker put on 30-something and 20-some-odd minutes. Been on the bench. Hasn't played in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Three games. He's looked fantastic in 3 games.
Fantastic. Yes. In the 3 games that he's played. So if he can stay healthy. But Beal, a late scratch. But no problem. Phoenix blows out the Timberwolves. And for Cleveland, Garland's going to sit out for Cleveland. They're a double-digit favorite at Portland. And you know what? No problem. Cleveland wins. Every injury game was a winner yesterday. Our game, like I said, couldn't help taking the 76ers. We've talked about it again, how thin this Celtic team is, but they just got it done yesterday. What I will say, losing's part of the game. When I lose the last 2 days, because of the last 2 MVPs, I'm pissed off. So last night, Embiid, he plays. He's a game worst minus 25. We're talking net plus minus. Minus 25 while he's on the court. Philly was down. The night before, Joker has his worst shooting night of the season. 8 for 23. And this was the game against the Clippers. We laid 4.5 in that game. They only win by 3. 8 for 23, just to give you an idea, how bad is that for Joker? Well, he hasn't shot less than 50% in any other game this year. So these are the things that pop up, the unexpecteds. Look, no excuses, just giving you guys the reasons we lose. And then there's always a reason for it. So do we expect last year's MVP to be a game worst minus 25 when he's on the court? Absolutely not, against an undermanned Celtic team, but they got it done anyway. And the night before, again, Joker, not 8 for 23. Come on, Joker. 10 for 23, 9 for 23 gets us the money, not 8 for 23. So anyway, just a heads up. Bad day yesterday. We had a big bet, big 4-unit bet on the 76ers yesterday once we got confirmed injuries. Could have been worse. Man, we could have went with Toronto against Giannis. We could have went with the Wizards with the Kyrie injury. I remember that's a 2-man team. That's Luka and Kyrie. So as bad as it was, could have been worse. These are the injuries. But we said, hey, Take Giannis out. Okay, here's the number. There's no edge there. We thought we had an edge with the Celtics and the 76ers. Didn't pan out. That's the NBA for you. That's gambling for you.
Nope.
You can have all the right information. You can do everything right. That game just don't go the way you expected. Again, similar to the Denver game with the Clippers the other night, as we said. Denver hadn't lost at home. Clippers hadn't won on the road. Clippers haven't covered since they got Harden on the floor.
All right.
Denver had dominated the series, I believe, 9 of the last 10, and they just didn't cover that day. So we only go by the information we get. And yesterday, for our How to Beat the Bookie members, we were holding on right up until game time, basically, to get the Embiid info. So to explain what I did yesterday, we bet 2 units at +4 soon as we got the Brown Porzingis out info. Because even at that point, at +4, even if Embiid is out, which, believe me, I wish he was out yesterday. I think we had a better shot with Philly. At +4, it was worth a 2-unit bet, even if Embiid was out. Would have been a 5-unit bet if we knew at that time +4 he was going to be in, which, again, it's a break because they lost by 10. We added another 2 units when we got the info. I thought Philly should be favored in this spot with 2 guys. Again, you're running 6 guys. They only have an 8-man rotation, the Celtics. Horford's your only real other guy coming off the bench.
No.
Hauser and Pritchard are your other 2 guys in that 8-man rotation. They went and dusted off Luke Cornett yesterday. I mean, come on. This is a team, Philadelphia, that was just running over teams, especially at home, except for their last game in Indiana, which was a total look-ahead game to last night. But anyway, is what it is. It's a losing day. Still, I believe that's 6 out of 8 or 7 out of 9 winning days, and that's how we want to look at it. A couple of bets tonight, and we'll tell you all about it once we get started.
Yep, a lot of opportunities to get it back tonight with these couple of games. We'll go into these 2 NBA games. First one, we have Nets at Miami. This Brooklyn team just keeps on covering. Anywhere they go, they're covering. They're coming off their last game, crushing the Magic the other night. They outscored them 36-18 in the 4th. And you have Miami started off ice cold. Next thing you know, Tyler Hero gets hurt. You might think there's some issues, and all they've done is rip off 6 straight wins. So Miami turned things around. Nets been covering, playing tight games all season long, and including those, one of those was a win to the Nets earlier this season, back about a week and a half ago, early November. So lean here has got to be to Brooklyn, John. It's got to be a look at the Nets. They keep getting it done. They're getting points. And Miami, as good as they are winning games, they don't necessarily cover that much. 0-4 against the spread at home this season.
0-4 this season, and second worst in the league at home, covering last year.
Yep.
Only Dallas Mavericks were worse against the spread at home. So they just don't cover at home. Yes, both teams playing great basketball right now. And as I wrote, Brooklyn just a covering machine right now. They've done well in this matchup recently. They've won the last 5 meetings and the last 4 that have been played in Miami. Hey, give me the team that's covering. That's pretty much on the matchup against a team that doesn't cover on the road. We took +4. This is a 2-unit bet. Nets +4 today.
Yeah, also a lean to the under for that game for me as those kind of play style, slower defensive focused. And we have Thunder at Golden State. OKC destroyed the Spurs the other night, crushed them by almost 40. So big win for them. They're playing great ball. Then you have this Warriors team. They've had struggles at home. And obviously their game the other night affects this dramatically. Curry, who didn't play, is going to remain out. Draymond Green gets handed the 5-game suspension. So they're going to be without him for a little while. It's going to be a very, very shorthanded Golden State team tonight, taking on OKC. So automatically it has to be OKC or nobody, just based off no Curry, no Draymond. You do have the fact that Golden State owns this matchup, but a little bit of a revenge factor, and we touched on this yesterday. You have the revenge factor from that first in-season tournament game. Curry hits the game winner, tight one, and OKC trying to climb up the NBA and pass Golden State as far as the tiers here, John.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about it yesterday, as Ben said, and it just feels like these are 2 ships passing in the night. This is 2 franchises, one on its way down, one on its way up. And yeah, Golden State has absolutely owned this series, 10-1 straight up 7-3-1 against the spread. Now, the last time they met a couple of weeks ago was just in OKC. Golden State beats them 141-139. But remember, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sat at that game, and OKC still played them tough. There's a different OKC team than the team that's been beat down 10 of the last 11 times by the Warriors. And this Golden State team, obviously a different team without Steph and Dre on the floor. All that being said, my number on the game is 3, and that's what the number is right now, 2.5 or 3, depending on your sports book. So I don't see much room there for either squad. I mean, if the game was to continue to go lower, I could see maybe making a little spot for OKC, but I don't see enough of an edge. Warriors, they just hung tough without Steph, Clay also, and Dre. They were out 2 minutes into the game and gave Timberwolves everything they could want right up until the end of the game. So another day rest. Let's see what Steve Kerr's got cooked up. 3 points is my number for the game. Like I said, that's the line. We'll stay off this one.
Yeah, and to your point about Golden State playing well without Curry, Draymond, and Clay in that last game, more and more it just feels like the NBA. These star players, when they're missing, the role guys step up, play harder, and there's something to it. It has to do with effort levels, I think, just the way star players are protected, the way they're injury concerned, just this whole – I think LeBron's kind of part of it as far as, he started as long as we get to the playoffs, Golden State bought into that. Greg Popovich was a part of that. And there's more. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's obviously that's been his identity the last couple of years, just try to get to the playoffs, forget the regular season. Whereas, the role players, a lot more effort. They're earning minutes, earning contracts. So I think we see that sometimes with the role players stepping up. And it's becoming more and more common where nights like last night, all these injuries, and yet the team still get it done.
Look, that's a great point. But the injuries still matter, and they matter over a long period of time. For one game, can they pop up and play, especially when we're on these back-to-backs? Let me explain it this way, guys. So let's just say you've got Giannis on a back-to-back. So he played the first night. He puts in his 35 to 38 minutes. So that second night, maybe you sit him. Well, maybe he wouldn't have been as effective on that second night. So maybe he's not worth that 5 points to the line. He's still definitely worth something to the line, but not maybe that 5 points to the line because he's going to be a little tired on a back-to-back, whatever the situation might be. But also I want to say about LeBron yesterday, that was our other game. We had the Lakers. The Lakers were listing – and they've been doing this for 3 years already with AD and LeBron ad nauseum, questionable every day. And that this makes the line move. We had no doubt that LeBron was playing last night. And I put that in our, not only in our preview, but it's just to calm our guys in the chat when they sent out LeBron is now questionable and Sacramento went to the favorite again. Look, he had played just 22 minutes the night before. If they were going to sit him, they were going to sit him the night before against Memphis and play him against Sacramento. All the talk about LeBron being questionable, 35 minutes and a triple-double. So
crazy.
You got to read between the lines. That's what we try to do. Again, guys, we are the best at information. And that's what How to Beat the Bookie is, a sports betting information place. We bet our games, and we do extremely, extremely well. There's going to be downturns where NBA has been a fucking absolute nightmare so far. But betting with the information, with the trends over the course of time, you're going to get the money. But again, just to bring up the fact, as late as they didn't release the info till about 8 o'clock, or maybe even later, that LeBron was going to play. We put it in our post, we put it in our previews, and even in the chat. While the Lakers list LeBron is questionable, this is something that they've done commonly over the last few years. I fully expect him to play. And obviously, like I said, 35 minutes and a triple-double. There was no question that LeBron was playing last night.
Yeah, as far as that game, everyone talks about Anthony Davis being a no-show, and he was, but it's also just how is he taking the fifth amount of shots? I mean, how is Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Cam Reddish, how are all these guys taking more shots? The only guy I'm okay with that is LeBron. Maybe D'Angelo Russell, he's the point guard ball handling, but there has to be some level of aggression. what Damian Lillard go the other night, 3 for 17. I'd rather see an Anthony Davis 3 for 17 than a 3 for 9. Like, have some go for it. He's supposed to be, the number 2 guy on the team and this and that. Don't see it. 3 for 9 is it's brutal night.
I believe he was a no-show on defense too. There's just that defensive intensity wasn't there either. This is supposed to be one of your better defensive players. And when he has a day, he's got that 4 blocks to go with that 30 and 10. Yep. Last night was just a 0, an absolute dud.
That's the small NBA slate tonight, guys. Waiting to see if anything big. Really looking on to the Friday NBA slate as those DraftKings numbers will get opened up to us here in the next couple of hours, maybe sooner. So as you guys know, we'll be getting ahead on tomorrow's lines. You guys want those, sign up on the app or the website. And we got Thursday night football tonight, a really good Thursday night football matchup. Bengals and Ravens, playoff rematch from last year. They did meet earlier this season back in week 2. Ravens get that done. They win at 27-24. Granted, Joe Burrow playing a little bit banged up, different Bengals team at that time. They look a lot better now. You have Bengals coming off a tough loss there to the Texans. Was that one by a field goal. CJ Stroud, another phenomenal performance. Burrow, a couple of interceptions in that one, had some pressure, was sacked. And the Ravens blew a big lead there against the Browns. Bad pick 6 late from Lamar Jackson, but really both of those losses chalked up to a look ahead to this game on a short week, division rival. They met in the playoffs. Thursday night game has all the makings for it. A lot of points here for this divisional matchup. Oftentimes, a lot of these games coming down to field goals. Both these teams coming off field goal losses. You guys know I'm very, very high on Baltimore, but tough to make this matchup anyone over a 3-point favorite. And it would have to be a look at the Bengals. And a look at the over, John. 14 straight, I believe it is, on these primetime unders. I think it's 22-7 on the season unders the prime, which is just ridiculous. But I think that this is the most public, public trend that it's ever been for the under. I don't think it's ever been a more public phenomenon to want to bet the under. Obviously, public likes the overs usually. And I think this is the one that gets back on track with the over. Yeah,
look, guys, I've mentioned many times, I was a bookie back in the day. We would never write an under. If we wrote an under ticket, it was from a sharp guy. Every square, the regulars, if it was the Monday night game, the Sunday night game, if it was a favorite and over, favorite and over, favorite and over. So we're having a sharper public now, a little bit sharper. Still, guys think that Las Vegas makes a call, but the NFL's got fixed teams in there. So a little bit sharper. Most guys are a little sharper, let's say. But yeah, no. These teams, good defenses. And Cincy, we thought might be without Hendrickson, but he's going to be back. He got an injury. He picked up an injury last Sunday, but he's going to play. So, this could still be a defensive game. I'm solid with the total. No pick in that one. The game itself, both teams have struggled last week. And then they struggled, just as Ben said. We use the term look ahead so often, but not more apparent than these two teams played last week. Cincy firing on all cylinders, beating Buffalo the week before. They beat them 24-18, I believe it was, but it wasn't even that close. They pretty much dominated the game against them. Baltimore, in their prior 2 home games, had steamrolled the Lions and the Seahawks. Again, they get all to a 14-0 lead on Cleveland. You think, okay, it's another 30-something blowout the way they've won their last couple of games at home. But they left the door open. Cleveland fights and wins that game. Cincinnati, same thing. Fall asleep at the switch, and they let a Houston team upset them. Cincy, even more so, they were basically what we call that sandwich game, coming off the Buffalo and look ahead to Baltimore. So both teams will rebound from that. As far as early in the season, Baltimore travels to Cincy. That's just their second win in the last 6 meetings. And again, that was Joe Burrow coming off that calf injury. Cincy's been 2 different teams. Joe Burrow with the injury, Joe Burrow since Arizona and since he's been healthy. And the numbers are just ridiculous. So Cincy's won 4 of the last 6. The 2 games they lost, we spoke about the one. Baltimore goes to Cincy, beats it by a field goal. The other game, Cincy goes to Baltimore last year, they lose 19-17. So in the 2 games they lost, neither game decided by more than a field goal. Why wouldn't I take more than a field goal in this? I did. Cincy plus the 4, 2 units.
Yeah, I have to take the dog in this battle, and a couple of good teams in the NFL. And hey, you guys know I like the Ravens to win this thing, but it's just tough in this division rival. That's a lot of points in a matchup. We'll see how it comes down tonight. And really, it's
this is a must game also for Cincy. We really haven't talked about Cincy is in last place now. Cincy's one of the top teams in the AFC. So if you're asking me right now, I've got it KC, Baltimore, Cincy, and the Dolphins. Buffalo's now an afterthought, just to let ESPN and Sager and ratings know, get rid of your computers. They're the 5th best team, if that, in the AFC. But Cincy's in last place as of tonight. Now, breaks for both these teams. Cleveland, as we talked about yesterday, they've now lost their quarterback. And instead of even trying P.J. Walker, they're going with the rookie. And, I mean, the rookie looked, it's not ugly is not even the word. No. We've seen what these backup quarterbacks have done. I mean, they've been horrific. Just to talk a little bit more about that. So Cleveland, the strength of the Browns, obviously, their running game. Now, they lost Nick Chubb. I know I'm getting off base here, but I want to talk about this game a little bit. They lost Nick Chubb week 1, one of your best running backs in the NFL. Willis, the tackle, was put on IR 2 weeks ago. DeJuan Jones, he was out last week. He's questionable. And we're just getting that Wyatt Teller, he's going to be questionable now. So let's put this rookie quarterback behind an offensive line missing 3 starters against Pittsburgh. This game could be ugly. There's no way I thought I'd want the Steelers, but now it's Steelers or nobody. This game has gone down to 1. And this is one of the lower totals you're going to see in an NFL game that's not weather-related. We're now at 33. But
very similar. I believe it was Steelers-Browns. I know it was Browns for sure. A couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember that COVID game where Browns had 23-some-odd guys out, really low totals. Very similar game. I think they ended up winning that game, actually. If you remember what I'm talking about there.
The last couple of games of that season, actually, the Browns were all messed up with COVID. One of those games happened to be against the Jets. I do remember. But anyway, so you've got a Brown team not going to be decisive in this playoff picture after a huge win at Baltimore behind this kid quarterbacking and a makeshift offensive line. They're going to struggle. And Pittsburgh really banged up on defense. So within the last couple of weeks, they lost linebackers Holcomb and who else did they lose? Holcomb and Alexander. Micah Fitzpatrick, he's missed the last couple of games, questionable to come back. Montavious Adams, the defensive lineman, he missed last week. He's questionable to come back. So you get some banged-up teams. So this is the cream anyway. A big, huge game for Cincy tonight. This is a do-or-die game as far as I'm concerned. If Baltimore beats them, both ends, holds the tiebreaker. They can't catch Baltimore anymore. So huge game for Cincy. And again, that's why I took the 4 in that spot.
We'll see what we ended up getting. It's a really good divisional week across the board. I mean, short NBA card today, so we can touch a little bit on NFL Sunday. We already touched a little bit on that Steelers-Browns matchup, but even beyond that, some pretty good division games. Titans-Jags coming up this week. We also have Rams-Seattle. We're going to have Buffalo and the Jets, and then obviously all this division games are going to be topped off with a Monday night Super Bowl rematch, which we'll get into on Monday. But really good slate of games, John. Just some of these division battles. I mean, let's talk about this Titans-Jags matchup. I mean, Titans obviously pretty underwhelming. Will Levis hasn't looked as good the last couple of weeks after the really good first game. Is he going to be able to get it going here against Jacksonville? And Jags, which are a good football team, they take care of business against these lower teams. We saw it once again. They couldn't get it done against Kansas City. They couldn't get it done against the 49ers. Obviously, the Texans own them. They got couple of tough division games in a row. Talk about look-aheads. They get the Texans next. Texans the only real team here in this division that's giving them trouble. Titans, a lot of success in this matchup. A lot of points here. Got to be a little bit of a look here to Tennessee. Obviously, though, Jags, after getting the light beat out of them by the San Francisco 49ers, they're getting up for this game, though.
Yeah, this is what we call a bounce-back game, and then this is the spot to do it against Tennessee. Look, Tennessee fooled me with Levis. Had him the first game against Atlanta because I said, hey, there is absolutely no way he's 5 points worse The Tannehill sucks. I believe at that time Tannehill was 31st of the 32 quarterbacks as far as QBR. So the drop-off couldn't be that much. He has a nice game. He gets it done against Atlanta. And then not a terrible showing at Pittsburgh against a real good Pittsburgh team. His first road start. That's always going to be a tough start for a rookie quarterback. But then just not getting it done last week. And we were on him last week at the Tampa Bay. No. They put together a phenomenal first drive. I watched that first drive. They did have to settle for a field goal, but then nothing. Just blank, totally blank after that. And that's what happens. He needs Henry to be able to run the ball. Well, Tampa Bay's got a stout defensive line against the run. And that's what the Jags do well also. So if they can shut him down and force Levis into passing situations, they might have his number. 7, big number. I mean, that's big basically number. What I make the game. So no dog in his fight. But Jacksonville, look for them to bounce back with a W here. Tennessee, it looks like they've already put this year behind them. I don't know why they didn't deal Henry at the trade deadline. He was up for grabs. Teams definitely could use Henry. This team isn't going anywhere. Yep. You're making your move to a new quarterback.
Hopkins too. Hopkins too.
Without a doubt. Look, burn it down like the Giants are. Put kids in off the street. They went and got DeVito out of Jersey. Hey, hey, come over here. You want to play quarterback for the Giants? Burn it down, and the next year, you see what happens next year. They ain't going nowhere. And then we'll get to the time of year that we'll see some tanking. Who I don't think will be tanking. Chicago, I think we're going to see them put up a good fight. Let's see what Fields has got this comeback game. He'll return. Their defense has been better. They got healthier in these last few weeks because that defense was an absolute disaster early in the season. Again, they played Carolina. Let's not jump out of it. Now they're going to be tested at Detroit, a team that blasted them 41-10. I believe that was week 17 last year in Detroit. So they got to go back to the scene of the crime. Look, I think they'll put up a little bit better of a fight, little bit of a letdown. I'm expecting Detroit after that sick game at LA. 600 yards, 600 total yards, scoring on every play and then winging it at as time ran out with a field goal. So I would expect a little bit of a letdown. Chicago's had extra time off. Remember, they played on Thursday, so a little extra time to prepare. Fields his first game back. Would expect the game. And when we see that in the line, that overnight line was 10 when it first opened up. This line's down to 7.5. So all the sharps all over the Bears in this one.
Yeah, we'll say also maybe a slight look ahead, too, for Detroit. They get Green Bay on Thanksgiving coming up next as well. So obviously, Thanksgiving game. Same with Seattle. They get the Niners on Thanksgiving, and obviously the Cowboys get the Commanders. That's another one. As bad as the Giants have been, they dominate the Commanders. And, hey, Commanders short week Thanksgiving, Dallas Cowboys. So that's it could be one of those little bit of a letdown spots, division rival. You mentioned, Tennessee not selling. Someone else in the division, Houston Texans, over the last couple of years have had a lot of bad situations. Obviously, the Watson situation. They sold T.J. Watt. Then they went and moved Hopkins. Then they went and moved Watson. Then they cleared the entire coaching staff, come back, new QB. They reset properly. So, yeah, Tennessee should take a note from that.
Yeah, look, sometimes you raise the white flag. You just give up. Give it up. Learn when you beat, and you fight another day. So you fight for next year. There's always next year. You're not going to win every single year. Tennessee, like I said, that's bad. That's a bad GM. We talked about it ad nauseum. What's the San Diego Padres did at the trade deadline? You had Snell, Soto, Hader. You had a list of guys there that you could have got something for. This is how you build depth in your organization for down the road. You're not going to win it. They didn't even make the playoffs, and we knew they weren't going to make. They were the only ones that thought they still had a shot that they're going to make the playoffs. So when your season's over, guys, it's over. And getting back to that, so just realize that if you had to beat the Bookie member, my ratings, you've got to take into account certain situations like that at this part of the year. in the NFL, who's starting to tank, what teams need it. Look, just what Ben said, Giants have owned this series. Do I want the Giants after what I saw? Even though my numbers say bet the Giants, I watched this team play last week. I don't want that team, and I don't know if they're even showing up this week after a beatdown like that. Are they going to just, hey, let's lose the rest of these games and we'll get a pick? I think they've got 11 starters listed as questionable this week. So there's a reason why that number's a little high, and that's part of the reason also. As you had to beat the bookie member. I don't have every questionable in my it's guys that we know that are injured and guys that are affecting the line. Fields, he's injured. Once he plays, that he's going to move the number. That's why he's listed as an injured player. For the colleges, same type of situation. Those numbers they're solid. You can make basically the line off just deducting home and away. But there's situations. What team is still alive? Well, Oregon. Here's a team that wants to put on extra points. A one-loss team that needs to look good in the polls. So there's other things that start taking into account. Teams that a team like Arizona State. I guess we'll talk about this a little bit, Bennett. Me and Ben were talking about this just before we went shooting the podcast. Arizona State, huge game. They beat UCLA 17-7. So the computers jack up their ratings. I didn't, because they beat a UCLA team that played with their third string quarterback. Now they're going to come against Oregon. So they're coming off a win. Oregon, to me, is going to look to go in there and blow them out. I make that game higher. Game started 22.5, already up to 24. So again, who's showing up? Who needs to win? Who needs to look good for polls? All these things also. Again, my numbers, base number. A lot of other things come into account.
I will say Oregon is in a little bit of a tough spot with this ASU game. They do get Oregon State next week, a little bit of a sandwich spot with USC. And if Oregon State beats Washington, that game versus Oregon State will be decided who goes to the Pac-12 championship. So that rivalry game could have a little bit of extra blood involved in that meaning.
Rivalry games are big. You've got Stanford. Stanford not probably, they're the worst team of any Power 5 team. Is Stanford. They got destroyed by Oregon State last week. Why? They were coming off a win, and they've got the Cal Stanford game, which is like one of the biggest games. It's not Army-Navy, but it's one of the biggest games. It's a huge game, the Cal Stanford game. They've been playing this game forever. So they've got that game. So it was a no-show game for them last week. And again, another reason that kicked up Oregon State. Me and Ben are actually debating that today. Ben, he likes Oregon State this week.
I do.
I'm sorry. I think, look, Wash is in a tough spot. Huge. Could be a little bit of a letdown off that Utah game. But they're headed for a win. They're an undefeated team. They need every win. The last two games have both been decided by a field goal. If this game gets to a field goal, for me, it's Washington and nobody, Ben. You state your case of the debate.
Yeah, you got a number 5 team, undefeated team in the country getting dog points on a late night game on Saturday. It's going to be the biggest trap spot on the card. Oregon State, the last 2 years in the Pac-12, 1 loss. They have big wins over Oregon, wins over Washington. They've dominated, wins over Utah. At home, pretty much unscathed. They had 1 loss to USC last year by a field goal at home. That's their 1 loss. And, at home, pretty much untouchable. They're still in it. Obviously, Washington's playing to try to go to the national championship, try to go to the college football playoffs. That's still in the books. Oregon State's playing for a couple of things. One, they can still win the Pac-12 championship. They can go win this week and beat Oregon in a rivalry game and run the table and go to the Pac-12 championship. That is still in the play. 2, playing for a little bit of respect. The entire Pac-12 dissolves. You have Cal Stanford going to the ACC, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, Big Ten, Arizona State, Colorado, Big 12. No invites for Oregon State. No respect for Oregon State. All they've done this year, 12th ranked team in the country. Statement game Saturday night, John. Statement game Saturday night.
So you got it. You've got 2 guys. Just see it differently. Ben likes Oregon State. I'm on Washington. If that line gets to 3, we'll see where that one goes. So always look, there can always be 2 opinions.
100%.
We've got opinions, guys, that say, hey, once Giannis is out, if the line moves all the way this way, I'm going to go the other way. Well, the guys that did that, they crushed the board last night. That's not going to happen every night. Well, you go back a couple of nights and you see you're missing a guy. Let's see how that does over a period of time. It's like the argument. Oh, I bet the money line. Lions won by 3. If I would have laid 3, I would have got a push. I got the win with the money line. Let's count in all the bets, not just the one that happened to fall. So let's see how it goes. The test of time, guys. Simple arithmetic says the more juice you give to the book, the more you will lose. And it's just simple math. It ain't nothing else. There's nobody that's just going to pick out the right game to buy extra points or to lay the money line. There's only one way to bet. You want to make your bet straight. Limit your juice to the books.
Absolutely. Guys, that's a little bit of football insight for you. We have a short card today. A couple of bets out for how to beat the Bookie members. A lot of bets already out for NFL Sunday. More coming if you guys want to be a part of a big weekend. 7 of the last 9 days, winning days. And, hey, John, 10 straight winning weeks in the NFL. We still got that going on into tonight's Thursday Night Football game.
We start the NFL this week. Remember, Monday is part of Week 10, so we're not counting that as this week. That Monday's game is the only thing that made us a winner for Week 10, but that's part of Week 10. 10 straight winning weeks. We catch the Broncos and under 2 units each. It made us a plus. Anybody else could say that out there? 10 straight winning weeks. Go check out our Instagram. Ben breaks it down every week. Every bet that we've made this year. It's been a great year in the NFL, and that's why we know we'll turn NBA around. Hardest sport to bet is NFL. Why is it the hardest? It's the hardest sport to bet because it's the ones that the line moves the littlest. The more a line moves, the more the sharps have an edge. The least the line moves, the least the edges. It's just that simple. So, been absolutely crushing NFL. Continue to do so. Let's see what happens tonight. We took 4. Again, it's all about beating the number, guys. And in NFL, a half-point move is a big move. It's not like a college football game. So every half point in NFL is huge. We got a half-point edge. We sent this out, I believe it was yesterday morning, Bengals +4. As soon as we got the info that Hendrickson was back on the practice field and that he'd be probable, which he is, like the spot, like the defense, and we took 4. That game's sitting down at 3.5. That's the edge. That's all we're going to tell you, okay? No guarantees, no pounding the chest, no emptying the kids' college fund out. We're going to give you an edge every day. And over a amount of time, you're going to win. We're going to do the same thing with NBA as I've done every single year. A big, huge card tomorrow. My numbers are ready. I'm waiting to fire. Open up DraftKings. We're going to break your hold for the rest of the year. And, jump on now. I've been telling everybody, buy low. We are low on NBA. Nowhere to go but up. And I guarantee you, by the end of the year, we'll be a positive.
Big weekend coming up in sports, guys. We're going to be getting to these NBA lines for Friday right after this. If you guys want all that, sign up on the app, sign up on the website. Appreciate you tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe below. Let's make some money, John.
Let's make some money.